everyone. Welcome to the Healing Train. I am your conductor, otherwise your coach, B.Von Squires. And today we are sponsored by Spirit Source Connection. But the reason we're here today is because this is the Healing Train, where ordinary people come to talk about their extraordinary stories. And so here we believe that we are multidimensional spiritual beings and that we have supernatural powers that we enact through our imagination, our visualization, our creativity, and anything that's going to help us connect to our higher self, like our intuition. As you know, I wrote a book. It's called The Energy Harvest. It is a 4-phase trauma healing process that starts by identifying the trauma. Then it goes into the set phase where we find all kinds of resources that we can heal from our trauma. First one, starting with the forgiveness, because we know that we can't move forward without forgiving, right? And then once we are able to forgive and get some healing from our trauma, then we're able to go on and achieve some wonderful things in life. And then we connect with like-minded people so that we can sustain all of the work and all of the positive energy that we have gathered up until this point. Now, here on the Healing Train, we bring people on that have amazing, extraordinary stories. And today is not going to be any different. The person I have for you today is Miss Patrice Freeland. I tell you what, she is a master Reiki. She does essential oils. She knows how to help you heal from those. She is a wonderful person. She's had her trauma. She's healed from her trauma. Now she's out doing wonderful things, helping other people learn how to heal themselves from their trauma and their illnesses and whatever else may be ailing them through the use of essential oils. It's truly amazing, truly extraordinary. And I know you are going to be so inspired by Patrice's story. So if you would please help me welcome Miss Patrice Freeland. Patrice, can you please come on and say hello to our community?
Oh my goodness, what a beautiful introduction, B.Von. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with you all and be given the opportunity to share a little bit about me. And it's just a pleasure to be here. Thank you. I'm excited.
Thank you so much. And so, as you know, we talked about how this is going to flow with the identify state. And so I had to identify the trauma that was in my life before I could move forward. Now, of course, I didn't see it as trauma because I thought that every household was ran the same way our household was. What happens here in this house stays in this house. And I tell you what, when I found out that that wasn't true for everyone, that's when I was able to realize that I had some emotional abandonment. I had some psychological abuse, some of those things that helped me create a low self-esteem in my life, if you will. And so I know everyone's trauma is not the same. There are ups and downs, twists and turns in everyone's trauma journey. And so we would like you to come on and talk to us about how you were able to identify trauma in your own life.
Yes, well, thank you for that because that identification piece is not one that we really hear about a lot and how to identify it. And like you mentioned, when we live our life and we have grown up in a certain circumstance, that is our normal. And we may not understand that this is not working in our best interest at the time, or that there are other options. And unfortunately, that can kind of perpetuate. That was a little bit of my story. So, my father was an alcoholic, and that was kind of multi-generational on both sides of my parents' family. And those things kind of escalated, particularly as I got into middle school and high school, just, unpredictable behavior, lack of
Sure.
reliability. But I was very fortunate that I always had this kind of inner compass, if you will, just inner drive to achieve what I could achieve despite that.
Mhm.
And um, however, it was kind of interesting. It took me a while to really break free from, I would say, a traumatic environment. So even at a young age, I was definitely able to identify that these behaviors were not okay. These behaviors were not healthy. And I was lucky to be surrounded by other families that didn't have some of the challenges that I was having. And one of my best friends was telling me when we were very young, you need to write a book one day. You need to write a book one day. So, it's something when when your young friends are pointing out that, things are a little wacky in your house. Um, and I ended up having my daughter, who I'm so proud of and is so wonderful, in my senior year of high school. And that was its own, journey in that. I got married very young to a different type of alcoholic. So while I could identify that there was traumatic behavior and there was a toxicity in the environment that I was in, I was not able to really identify a very clear path out of it. So it just
Yes.
kept kind of manifesting in different ways until I was
Mm.
able to separate from that. And luckily, I was put in a position where, in my early 20s, that I had my second child, who was absolutely a wonderful gift, and circumstances brought my husband and I to separate. And it was truly when I was able to completely separate from the day to day grind of living and surviving in
Ooh.
a non-optimal environment, that I could really, one, break free and start living life more along my rules. But as I began to identify and heal, it became more and more apparent the level of healing that I needed to do and how multifaceted that was, how much it affected me physically and emotionally and spiritually. And it becomes very detailed and very tangled. But it's like that onion analogy we hear so much, as you start peeling away the layers and you start drawing those conclusions and seeing, oh, well, this is the reason why I feel this way, because this happened. And
Yes.
here's how I can move past from that. And then you start walking a very different path.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. The way you just explained that was just so perfect. When you talked about the multifacetedness of the trauma itself and how it affected you, not only just emotionally, but also mentally, physically, and spiritually. You talked about, just kind of basically surviving in those circumstances like I was. I felt the same way. How can I get out of this? I knew it wasn't healthy for me. I knew that I was shrinking, but inside I had such a big, powerful spirit that wanted to come out, but I couldn't dare let it come out. I didn't know how to embrace it because I was so busy trying to make it through each day, as you talked about the day-to-day grind in the circumstances that were not optimal for your living. Wow, that was so wonderful, Patrice. Thank you. I'm sure there's someone out here, a young woman, or some, just not necessarily a young woman, but someone who had a child in high school like you did. So someone out there is already identifying with your story. And I know as we continue to move on, they're going to identify even more. Thank you for your authenticity and your ability to just tell the truth about what it is that you went through. Thank you so much. And so I am now going to talk about the set phase, because the set phase is after you've identified the trauma, after you found your way kind of out of it. How did you find your way? For me, it was school. I enjoyed school so much, and that's where all of my positive reinforcements came from my school. That was one thing I knew, is that I could think and that I could, achieve things. And so I kind of gravitated more towards that, even before I was able to heal the emotional part of me and actually see myself as a thriving, vital person in life. I was able to achieve things, even though I didn't see that part of me yet. That didn't come until later. And so one of the major things that I had to do was forgive. I had to learn how to deliberately and consciously say, I am going to forgive myself. I am going to forgive my abuser. I'm going to forgive the whole entire situation so that I could be free to move forward. Had no idea how much was tangled up, as you said, in the unforgiveness. And so for you, what was it that allowed you to move to the next phase of your healing? Can you tell us about that?
Sure, absolutely. So, like you, the one life raft that I had was academics. I absolutely loved school. I had extracurriculars that I was talented in. So that was the one piece I'm like, even if at that time I felt like I wasn't lovable or I felt like no one would be my friend, but I was smart and I was really good at school and I was really good at these other things. So you know what? That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And when I went to university, then I was surrounded by people that were very much like me. And that was my first glimpse of acceptance and freedom
Mm.
and lots of different versions of what life could be like. It was that first level of empowerment that I had really experienced. And the blessing of having my daughter and my son a few years later so young is that it gave me this hyper focus and purpose that kept me
Mm.
from potentially meandering and not being able to get a clear direction because I had a child that I've dedicated my life towards. So everything had that focus of what is the best that I can do for me, but ultimately for her. And that
Mhm.
always kept me in line, if you
Sure.
will. And from there, my body kind of forced me into it. So I had always struggled with illness. I'd always struggled with anxiety. And then kind of in that critical, early 20s age that I referenced before, my body just started to shut down.
Mm.
And it was after I had graduated college. And I realized later that it was that moment where I could finally take a breath. And then my body was like, I have taken on all the stress, I've taken on all the trauma, and now we can relax and bring some of this stuff to the surface so it can be addressed. I
Okay.
started having just very extreme bizarre symptoms. I was multiple chemical sensitivity. My gut health was completely in havoc. Excruciating body pain. I was only sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night. Like you name it, things were continuing to fall apart. And one of those typical stories where the doctors just really had a hard time identifying what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And that started my natural healthcare journey.
Mhm.
I knew that things happen for a reason, that my body just doesn't decide to do crazy things, and became my own advocate.
Yes.
I had heard of acupuncture, so I looked up acupuncturist and found a very, very talented practitioner who gave me a different version of how the body works and was my first introduction to a holistic view of your body working as a single mechanism and the effect of external energetic and emotional influence on the physical body and vice versa.
Mhm.
She introduced me to energy healing. And then that academic brain went into overdrive and I was addicted. So, over the course of 10 years, I dove into every type of natural and energetic healing modality. And kind of visited each one to see the pieces that worked for me and the pieces that didn't. During that time, I learned more and more the effect of trauma and emotional health on the physical body, and that healing
Mm.
from these things that had happened in my past was crucial if I was physically going to get better. So it became part of my very intentional wellness plan and finding ways to do that.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing that was so valuable through that journey was that transition of identification, because when you are in pain and you're suffering from serious physical illness or you're suffering from emotional distress, then that almost becomes your identity because it's something you have to think about and others need to be aware of all of the time. So I became, hey, I'm Patrice and I had this whole thing wrong with me. And yeah, I'm really sorry. It was always my introduction.
Yeah.
And then over time, I was able to start kind of separating myself from that and being more of an observer to my physical body and my emotional body, and started to identify myself as like, who is Patrice? Like, who is my authentic self? And I really hadn't thought about that before. And when
Mm.
you dive into that, you have no choice but to really think about the things that are great about you and what identifies you. And then that illness, that trauma just became part of my story, but it stopped being who I was.
Ooh, I love
And
it.
that's really where the healing and forgiveness piece came in to it. Was I wasn't held by the shackles of that anymore. I wasn't dragging it along anymore.
Sure.
And as I healed myself, I realized that other people are healing too. We truly are doing the best we can. And unfortunately, that doesn't look great all of the time. And that even though, yes, these things happen, yes, they had this effect, that I really do open the door for them to have a wonderful experience and wish them the best. That doesn't mean that they need to be part of my life anymore, at least not right now. But I learned the role of love and service through love. And then when you do that and have that as your North Star, then that makes decisions you make and the way you live your day to day life so much easier. And then that leading with love, uh, I would say increase those layers of forgiveness, to where you
Mm.
can still like love that person and really let it go.
Ooh, I love that. Oh my God, this is so juicy and so great. Thank you. Oh, I love what you just said about the layers of forgiveness. Oh, that is just perfect and so beautiful because I never really looked at forgiveness that way. I looked at it as all or nothing. And you have just helped me understand that healing come. I knew that healing came in layers. Okay. So if healing is coming in layers, then everything else is coming in layers as well. Just like you talked about the onion and peeling the layers of the onion. You talked about that and being able to, not identify as the issue. You know what I'm saying? But you were able to identify the issue and it not be you. I hope I said that right. But
Oh my
because
gosh,
it
absolutely. Yes.
yes, it's so important that we're able to see ourselves separate from the actual trauma, but some people can't see it because they don't have the environment where they're able to see other people healing. And that's why the healing train is so important to me and so precious to me because we are here showing people what is possible for their own lives. There's someone out there that is meandering, as you say, off course, has wandered, gone into the darkness, and doesn't know how to get back. But now they can see that, guess what? Even if you have a child at an early age, even if you marry a man that's going to be abusive to you, even if you have some health issues that tend to cloud your whole vision, you can still find your way out. You can still heal. And you talked about acupuncture that came about early on. I heard about it, but I was like, needles, oh my gosh, no. But you make it sound
I
like it
had to
was
keep
such
my eyes closed because yes, but
a And so I've heard a lot about that, for weight loss, acupuncture for weight loss, acupuncture for anxiety, for sleep disorders. Acupuncture is wonderful. Now, I've not tried it myself, but I'm looking forward to trying it. And so, right now, I want to thank you all so much for being here with us. We're talking to Patrice Freeland today here on the healing train. She's already talked about identifying her trauma, she's talked about the way that she was able to use the oils and identify her health issues and then go on to heal from them. Oh my gosh, this is just so wonderful, guys. And so as we're continuing on here, we're going to start talking about now how you were able to achieve great things. You talked about loving leading with love. I think that is just so beautiful because what you said is that you lead with love so that your decisions can come from that place and you have more decisions available to you when you're leading from love, as opposed to that ego and the fear and, all of those other things that we could actually lead from. But I am just so happy to hear you say that you have forgiven the people, that harmed you, forgiven the situations and the circumstances. And now you can go move on to live a wonderful life and achieve some great things. And so, can you tell us more about the achievements that you have made since you've been able to heal from the trauma?
Oh my goodness, yes. And I am so blessed and so grateful. And even like in the mix of it, when and every day has its own challenge. No one has, just a easy peasy life. It's just um the way those challenges look are different, for each of us. So when I was really in the mix of it, trying to balance, multiple jobs and my children and growing my career, I did not take for granted the fact that I was putting food on the table. I was showing up for work every day, that I was going a step further and not giving up. And
Yes,
that is such a huge part of give yourself credit for the work that you are doing right now. Even though
absolutely.
it was not where I wanted to be, it wasn't my
Mhm.
end goal. That having that was was absolutely critical. And one thing that I kept in mind was I don't want to live my life with regret of, gosh, I had so much potential and I just didn't do it. And that gave me a little bit of an opportunity to not settle. I always wanted more. I always wanted the next thing, but also with a humility of I'm going to need to learn along the way. And, I'm not going to, out of the gate be the president of a company or, anything like that. That
Sure.
there is this growth pattern.
Mhm.
And there's this stretch that's going to happen if I can align myself to it. The and when you are so let back up a little bit, it made a huge difference, and I really things really started to change once I found all of the pieces to my wellness plan that were going to work for me.
Yes.
And we are energetic beings in a physical body. So
Yes.
we need to support both aspects of that. During my healing journey, I spent a lot of time on the physical side. Then I learned about energy healing and I went completely on the energy side, but my physical body was still struggling a little bit. And so then I found that we have to do both.
Yes.
That's when essential oils and nutritional supplementation came into my life and really put the pieces together that I needed at that point to resolve my physical issues. Then I was able to dive more into the emotional issues and bringing in additional energy healing, bringing in life coaching. And, as you mentioned, we can only grow and latch on to the information that we have. If we don't have it, we don't know and we can't live it. So the second piece to that achieving success for me was the quest for more information, because the more information I had, the better decisions I could make.
Sure.
And from there, just making sure I was surrounding myself with really good people, making sure that I was always looking for opportunities with my career, with my friendships,
Mhm.
with my health, where I could find places where I could be mutually beneficial. And that led me to additional opportunities in my corporate career. And that has led me to wonderful friendships. And now, all of these years later, I'm now living the dream of having my own business, having my own, brick and mortar holistic healing arts center with a couple of business partners, and just having that vision and taking those steps and being very forgiving. That word keeps coming back of It's so tempting to be perfectionist, and it's so tempting to not take action out of fear of doing the wrong thing. What happens if I do the wrong thing? As long as you're moving forward and you're learning from it, it's never the wrong thing. And truly, we are all on our perfect path. We are making the best decisions that we can in each moment. And having that understanding and grace makes taking the next step and trying new things that much easier. And it makes it a lot more fun. And
Yes.
you get to explore and add more tools into your toolkit and um, add a little more growth and exploration of who you are and the things that you like to do and the choices that you like to make.
Oh my God, that is so wonderful. Oh, you're doing such a great job. Huh? What I really loved about what you said is not to be afraid to make mistakes, not to be afraid to do the wrong thing because you can't do the wrong thing. We are already on our path. Our purpose is already in us. And this is the way I believe is the purpose is already there. And so you can't make the wrong move. Whichever move you're going to make is still going to lead you towards your path. You might need a little more understanding. So you'll go this way and oops, I wasn't supposed to go that way, but now I understand that that way doesn't work for me. It may work for someone else, but it may not work for me. Well, let me keep trugging along. Let me keep moving along and see where I go next. And what I have been able to see in my own journey is, you know, everyone's journey is going to be different. Not to compare my journey with the next person's journey because my purpose is different from that person's purpose. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the identified purpose. Now, of course, we're all the purpose for all of us is here to love each other, love ourselves, and bring beauty to the universe. That's what we're supposed to do, right? But along the way, we each have our own particular niche or our own particular way that this is going to manifest for us. And so, what I'm hearing you say is that this worked for you. There's someone out there who's identifying with you as well. There's someone out there who's identifying with me. And we all, if we look, we can all identify with us, at least a small part of each other's process. That's why I really love this. That's why I really am happy that you're here telling your story, being so authentic, talking about, just everything from the beginning to how you were able to find your like-minded people, to how you were able to just go full force into the energy healing. Oh my God, it's like, oh, this is so yummy. I think I'll go more over here. And then you find yourself all the way on the right. Then you have to come back because you're too far over there. But then you find your place in the middle that says, oh, okay, here's my lane. But before you could find your lane, you had to try other different lanes to find out that those didn't fit you as well. Almost like, which little story was it? The Three Bears, with the bed. You had to find the one that was just right. I know that's elementary, but sometimes I just like to have fun.
Well,
you
it,
know,
it does. And finding what doesn't work for you or what you don't like is just as important as finding what you do like. So it's
exactly.
all very, very valuable.
Exactly. And thank you so much for saying that. A lot of times we forget to give ourselves the grace that you were talking about, to give ourselves the grace because we're not perfect. We're perfectly imperfect. We are perfect for our challenges. We are perfect for our purpose. And that's the perfect that we are. Now what it looks like from our eyes, the perfection may not be what it looks like from a spiritual standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Because me, I want all the I's dotted. I want all the T's crossed. I want the commas and the semicolons and all of those ampersands, those kinds of things. I want all of that in there. But guess what? It might not be necessary. There is a law called the law of least effort. This is something I learned from Deepak Chopra in his 7 spiritual laws of success. Who would have known that sometimes all you need to do is be still? Sometimes all you need to do is just stand back and allow things to happen. And what I'm finding on my journey is that once you're connected to the spiritual part of who you are, there is a compass that lives within you that leads you and guides you where you in the direction you're supposed to go. And this is how it has been for me. And I know that there are plenty of other people out here that can identify with that as well. And so, as we move forward, we're going to be talking about the sustain part of the energy harvest. And this is where we get to talk about how we sustain those beautiful dreams that we're achieving. How do we sustain all of the healing and health that we have gained so far? How do we sustain that positive attitude as you know life shows up? No day, like you say, is going to be easy peasy. There are going to be some challenges that we must work through, but how do you maintain that positive attitude while you go through and continue to achieve the things that you're doing in your life? How do you maintain?
I think self-awareness is key, and also awareness of the impact that you have on others is also so important. When you go through that healing, and when you go through that, you're paying a lot of attention to yourself, and also the more cleanly you can live, when you're eating clean food, when you are giving yourself quiet time, then your body talks to you a little more clearly. I might need some more rest today. Oh, I can see that my emotions are getting a little flared, so I need to be aware of that before I go into this meeting.
Woo!
You start to really pay attention to you and recognize your patterns. And then also, I've said the term, wellness plan is, now I know what my body and spirit needs to stay at like a nice, balanced, and healthy level. I know the supplements that I need. I know the ones that I need to pull out when I start feeling like my immune system is getting a little compromised, or I'm a little wired before bed. I need some help sleeping. And definitely a strong essential oil regimen is part of that. Also, communication skills and perspective is something that is a healthy part of my personal sustainability plan. The more things that you expose yourself to, the more people and information you expose yourself to, gives you an expanded level of grace to see, oh, even though I feel this way, or I kind of got married to a point of view for a little bit, I can step away from that and see, oh, maybe this is another way to look at it. This is the way this person needs to be communicated with right now. And it helps me work in the world a little more effectively. And um, then just having that grace, it's we're going to have the days where we're really tired. We're going to have the days where everything just piles on, and might be a little bit edgy, and it's okay to have those days when you don't feel good. It's okay to have the days when you're a little irritable, and I handle that by just acknowledging that. And then making
Mhm.
sure that, I temper how I'm, treating other people accordingly. Like, I'm feeling really irritable. I'm going to make sure I don't, communicate that too much, or tell people I'm having a really tough day today. So please, give me some forgiveness if I seem a little short or I seem a little tired, communicating my needs to other people. And whenever there's a question in how to handle something, having that, if I'm acting out of love, what is going to be the best thing that is going to help this person? And sometimes that is putting up a boundary, or, giving information. Sometimes it is that, kind of tough love, if you will, that is going to be the most beneficial thing for the other person and you, and being aware of that. And just finding the things that feed you, and also noting your uniqueness in the world. um the life coaching that I do is based off the Clifton Strengths model, and that statistically shows that the way that you do life is actually completely different than anyone else. So you have this like Easter basket full of eggs, like you were saying. The people that you meet, the things that you try, you pick the Easter eggs and you fill your basket with the things that work for you. And then having that permission to just know no one is like you. Everybody's going to have like some really cool things, but it's up to you to find that combination of things that are going to be your magic combo at the time.
Sure.
We also change over time. What may be our dream today, what might be our landing place and things that we're passionate about, or the way that we do things today is going to change as we have more experience, as we are introduced to new people, as we age and our bodies change. Having that expectation and readiness and flexibility for us to become more enlightened and more aligned with who we are as we go on through this physical existence also adds a lot of peace and makes it more fun. When we can do things and know that not only can we do them with ease and we can be effective and have success, but we can do it and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, isn't that the goal, right?
Yes,
So, yeah,
exactly.
find the fun. Don't be afraid of fun. I was afraid of fun for a really long time. I thought I had to be super serious because I wanted to be executive. People weren't, I wasn't sure how they would take my humor.
Mm.
And letting go of that and being authentic and making people laugh is a whole new world. It's a whole new world.
I love it. Oh my goodness. You have some wonderful tools in your toolbox there. I can hear it when you're talking about the awareness that you have to have of yourself as you're moving through this and not being so hard on yourself and allowing yourself to have fun. I know I used to be so rigid because I was so afraid of being misunderstood. I was so afraid that people wouldn't get me. I was so afraid that I wouldn't fit in, that if they really knew who I was, they wouldn't like me. So for a long time, I wore a mask that didn't even belong to me. For a long time, I tried to be someone else. But I tell you what, once I was able to discover the Clifton Strengths book, like you said, my strengths, seeing that I am not just one big walking liability. I have quite a few assets. I'm compassionate, I'm tolerant, I'm lovable. I am dependable and loyal. These things I had to find out because these aren't the things that I was told. I was told quite the opposite. And for so long, I operated from those low vibrational energies, if you will. But then once I was able to heal and I was able to start achieving things and I was able to grab tools of my own and apply them to my own life, I saw a new person emerge. I saw this new flower start blooming. And then I began to start liking myself. What? Liking myself? Yeah, and it just made it so much easier for me to kind of let my guard down a little bit around these people, my core group, and then to kind of branch out a little bit more to see what's available, and then these other groups that I became parts of started bringing out different parts of who I was that maybe I wasn't even aware of, and so it was like this wonderful process of healing just opened me up truly like a flower. And then the open-mindedness that came along with that to hear something someone else is saying and say, ooh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll try that. And then to try it to see what worked and what didn't work. I tell you what, I love life. I love living life. I love learning and I love growing. I love meeting people like you, Patrice Freeland. So wonderful. And just allowing me to be me. Guys, when I met Patrice, I talked her head off. I thought for sure she's not going to want to talk to me again. Just talked her head off. But she's got such a wonderful presence. I'm telling you, she's got such a wonderful, compelling, graceful presence that just pulls you in and allows you to just be who you are. And Patrice, I thank you so much for doing that for me, for allowing me into your life, for allowing me to be a part of it. And I thank you so much for coming on here at the Healing Train. And I know that there's someone that's going to want to be able to reach out to you and find out more about your brick and mortar, about your business. If you want to please allow people to know how they may contact you after today's session.
Oh my goodness. Yvonne, I was doing a lot of talking too, and I'm so happy that the universe brought us together. It is you touched my heart, and I'm so grateful for our friendship. And yes, so if you would like to just talk a little bit more and see where I might be able to help, I offer free 30-minute consultations. You can reach me at wonderfullandofoils.com, and you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation right there on the website. You can also email me at Patrice, Patrice, at wonderfullandofoils.com, or you can call or text 540-324-8375. And I would love to talk and see where I can be of assistance. So thank you so much.
Okay, guys, this is it. We have had another wonderful episode of the Healing Train with Patrice Freeland here. I tell you what, I know you have been blessed. I know that your mind has been opened by this conversation. It has been so riveting and thrilling. Thank you again so much for meeting us here on the Healing Train, where ordinary people come to talk about their extraordinary stories and their trauma journeys. And that's exactly what we've heard today. Patrice came with authenticity. She came with vulnerability, clarity of mind, and definitely a wonderful presence that she has spread out all over the universe for us tonight. So thank you so much, Patrice. Thank you guys so much for meeting us here. And we'll see you next week on the Healing Train. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask God to bless you real good. And if there's something that you are manifesting for, I want to tell you not to give up. You may get discouraged, but I tell you, don't give up. The thing that you are manifesting for is on its way to you now. So go on out there and have a wonderful life. And we'll see you next week on the Healing Train right here. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.